Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to try making some char cloth. And for those of you that don't know, char cloth is an excellent fire starter. And we're going to make some when we come right back. Have you ever seen guys try to start fires with flint and steel? They always have this little black piece of cloth nearby that they're striking on. And that's what catches the spark. That is char cloth. Char cloth is just what it says, charred cloth. It's cloth that's taken on a bit of a char and is very, very easy to light with just a spark. And I have a nice little pile here I made last night. Just got bored and decided to make some, and I'm like, you know, it's been probably 2 years since I did my first video on char cloth, and it was my first experience making it. So I figured I would show you a way that you guys can make it at home. Now again, I'm going to tell you to do this outdoors or where there's lots of ventilation. It's not really a hazard, but you don't want to be lighting fires in your house. You don't want to be breathing in smoke if you can avoid it. But you can do this outside. You can do this on a balcony if you're kind of restricted to a smaller apartment. You don't need a huge, huge place to do this. And all you really need is one of these. And this is an Altoids tin essentially, but this is the Celestial Seasonings herb tea holder. It's just like an Altoids tin. What we're going to do with this is drill one hole in the middle, and I'll explain that later. And a camp stove of some kind. I'm using this guy today. Can't get him in the camera. There we go. Because I find this guy has little edges here that fit a Altoids tin or this tin perfectly. So, we're going to get started doing the modifications we need to do to this, and really all we need to do is poke that hole, and I'll explain why. Now, a lot of people will tell you, you don't really need to poke a hole in it. You can kind of tell when it's done by when the fire starts coming out of the sides. Or in other words, there's a bunch of ways to make char cloth. Some guys will take it, put it in a sealed metal container, toss it in a bonfire. Pull out the can when you're done, you got char cloth. This is just the way I'm doing it here. It's a little more compact, a little easier to do. You're not going to be able to make a ton at a time, okay? And you really don't want to. You know, you make 4 or 5 pieces, stick it in your fire kit, you're good to go. So the first thing we're going to do is drill that hole. And the reason we're drilling that hole, let me get my drill set up here, is because you want to see the fire come out. And you want to know when that fire goes out, and there's nothing but smoke coming out of that hole, your char cloth is probably done. So it's kind of an indicator. Other than that, there's no real reason to do it. So I'm going to take a little drill here. Is that in my camera? No, it's not in my camera. I always have to remember. All right. And I'm going to drill a little hole in the center here. And again, you can punch that with a punch. You don't need to use a drill. And show you what it looks like when we come back. And I'll also move the camera back a little so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so we got a hole dead center in Teddy Bear's chest. So now, you're going to have to remember that all this paint and coloring is all going to burn off. If you want to burn that off ahead of time, that's fine. But because we're doing it indoors, I'm going to open up the door before we actually burn this, because my studio is in my garage. So I want to make sure I don't stink the place up. But yeah, you're going to burn all that off, and it will come off eventually. If you've ever seen these used by guys, they're usually black, charred up, you know, tins. So we're going to take some cloth. Now, what I like to use for cloth, you can use cotton t-shirts, you can use almost anything. Silk and any other kind of fabric with synthetics in it won't work. But what I like to use is good old-fashioned denim. Denim makes amazing char cloth. If you have an old pair of jeans that you know it's time to get rid of, or they're ripped up, good place to do it. Chop them up, make some char cloth out of them. You try to cut the pieces and close to the same size, because remember, you want it to all burn evenly. Like if I were to put in one big huge piece and all these little pieces, my huge piece probably wouldn't be done, and these would probably be overdone or burned up. So I've got these pieces here. I'm going to try 5 pieces inside of it. These were actually jeans that met their match when I managed to be refilling my batteries and get a little bit of acid on them. Tiny little pinholes all up the leg. I didn't feel it. It didn't hurt me. It's just a little bit of a splash when I went to push down the battery cap on my solar stuff and got the jeans. So had to go out and buy a new pair, and these are put to good use. You can get tons, I mean a lifetime supply of char cloth off of one pair of jeans. So don't go chopping up all your jeans in your closet. Your first step is going to be really nothing more than just sticking it all in the container. I wouldn't do more than 5 or 6 pieces at a time. You'll get some, like I said, in the middle that won't get fully done. And I have an example in here. Let me see if I can find it. Even though on camera you probably won't be able to see it. You know, there were like 3 pieces of this when I started this video. Here we go. So here's a piece here that, I don't know if you can see the little bit of blue up in here. This part's awesome down here. But because this was too many pieces in the container, this part really didn't finish. So yeah, I'd probably take a spark, but it wouldn't work as well. You want it to be very easily mushed around and malleable, and you want it to be able to be torn very easily. So that's why I'm not going nuts with putting a ton in there. Let's move on to the next step. All right, I got this little butane stove set up. You can use any kind of gas stove you want. You can do this on your top of your range at home. I would suggest very good ventilation, and don't let your wife know. But it has to be some kind of fire. Don't try to do it on an electric range. I'd really rather you do it outdoors. Any kind of camp stove, Coleman stoves, anything like that will work. Even a small little fire, you know, you build a little fire in a ring, toss this can in, just let it sit there. All right, so we got this loaded up with our denim. We're going to turn this guy on. Woo! There we go. And drop them on there. It doesn't need to be a crazy high heat. And that does do that sometimes with a new can. Let me pull it off. It will pop open. Let me get this out of there. Whoops. There we go. No problem. Sometimes with the Altoids tins, if they're new, they will pop open like that. That will happen from time to time. Not the end of the world. Now, you notice there's a fire burning out of the middle and out of the sides too. A lot of times when this stuff is new, it will pop, it'll stretch. You know, I haven't burned this can yet. You'll see that thing looks really on fire. Well, first of all, you're burning off all of the paint, okay? So all that paint's burning off, that's most of the fire. But you'll see the fire in the middle, that main hole, that's the one you want to watch, okay? When that fire goes down, that means your char cloth is ready. So we're going to give this a few minutes, and I'll bring you back once it's ready, and then I'll bring you back when it's safe to open it up. As you can tell, most of the paint has burned off already, and you will run into it popping open like it did because the metal is getting exposed to heat and expanding and contracting and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. No big deal. You can just pre-burn this in if you want with nothing in it. I just chose to do it this way. So, bring you back when it's ready. Alright, you see it's almost out. Just a little tiny bit of flame left out in there. So once you see that, and it'll probably smoke a little bit when I turn this off, once you see that, you know the char cloth inside is fully charred. It's no longer burning, it's just charred. So I'm going to give this about 10 minutes, let it cool off. The nice part about this stove is it does cool off quickly, and even on the ends it's not hot. So I'm going to let it cool off and bring you back when it's time to inspect the cloth. Alright, so it's been about 10 or 15 minutes. I let it cool off. It's now cool to the touch. I did wipe off some of the paint. You can see where it expanded on the bottom here. See how it pops in and out like that? That's why it pops open. Once you use the can enough, it won't do that anymore. I did forget to mention that at the beginning. So let's see what we got. Now you notice they're smaller, right? Compared to what we put in there. These little charred pieces, and you notice they tear very easily. These little charred pieces of cotton, of cloth, are smaller. They've shrunk. And there you go. And now you have a container not only to hold your char cloth, but to make new when you run out. So, let's try these out. Now with char cloth, what you're generally going to do with it is have a tinder bundle nearby. Say some dried grass or crushed up leaves or whatever. And you're going to get an ember off your char cloth. And if you watched my video yesterday when I used the fire striker to get that ember, you see how quickly that ember will just envelop the whole char cloth. So, I'm going to use a real old school ferro rod here. One of these old mag bars. And put it there. And there you go. We got embers already. I don't know if you can see that. You can see the sparking. See that? Now that can go into some dried grass, and you see how easily it lit. A tinder bundle, and you blow on it, and the next thing you know, you'll have a fire. So that's how easy it is to make some char cloth at home. All it requires is some kind of tin. You don't have to use an Altoids tin. You can use a metal round tin, anything that seals fully. I like putting the hole on top because it lets me know that my char cloth is done and ready. You see that's still glowing. I had to blow on it, but I don't want to start my... There. You can see it's still glowing. So it's definitely handy, especially if you're doing like flint and steel. That makes life a lot easier. But this won't start a raging fire. This is what you use to get an ember going for a tinder bundle. So that's how you make it. Real simple. Little container, and that container can now hold your char cloth. And it's now part of your fire kit. Maybe you can stick a tiny ferro rod in there, whatever. You know, whatever you want to do with it, you're ready to go. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a try yourself. It should be fairly simple. Again, you don't have to use any kind of stove. Doesn't matter. You can do it in a fireplace. You can do it in a little fire pit in your backyard. Start a fire, toss your tin in. When you do that way, however, you have a way to grab it out in case it does pop open. And I would pre-burn it. I really did this as a demo, but I would pre-burn it without anything in it just to get all the paint and crud off and let it pop a few times and expand and contract, and you'd be good to go. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out our Amazon store down below. Just click the link. Anything you want in the store, feel free to shop. Doesn't cost you anything extra. Helps the channel out. Also, if you don't want anything in the store, there's tons of other stuff you can just shop like regular on Amazon after clicking the link, and it helps us out. And don't forget to check out our Thrive Life stuff. Thrive Life has been coming out with a ton of new products. So we'll be bringing them to you on the channel. If you're interested in just plain old freeze-dried storage number 10 cans, Thrive Life started as that, and that's what they have. They have a lot of it. If you want to do it on a budget, they have the pantry cans, which are a little smaller, and save you some money and stock up. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay prepared.